Hi, it's Pete from Hornsby Motorcycle Training. As I mentioned a few days ago, I'm going to start putting some information up on the Facebook page about the process that you follow for going through from having no motorcycle license at all, how you get through your learner stage, how you get through your restricted stage, and how you eventually end up finding yourself on your full license. The way it works in New Zealand, has done for a few years now, is there's two systems you can use for getting your motorcycle license. First system we've had for about 28-30 years, something like that, and there's a new system called Cbta which has been around since 2014. But whichever system you choose to put yourself through, and these systems can be mixed and matched as well, but whichever system you choose to go through, the very first stage on getting your motorcycle license is a practical test called a basic handling skills test. So that's a test you have to go along and do in a car park somewhere with a motorcycle school. We do it out at Ruapuna, at the racetrack there. We've got the course in the car park. It's the cones and tennis balls test. So it's to give you those basic skills, how to operate the motorcycle. And it's an opportunity for you to interact with the school, which will give you really good fundamental skills, which will help you when you start to go through that learning stages of getting out and about on the roads. When you finish your basic handling skills test, once you pass that test, you'll have a certificate which you take along with you, which you'll need to take with you in order to book your theory test, which is the next step in the process, regardless of which system you subsequently follow. You've still got to do your basic handling skills test followed by a theory test in order to get your learner's license. But once you've got your learner's license, you've then got a choice. You can go through the old system, which we've had for that, as I mentioned, 28-30 years. And what that looks like is you spend 6 months on your learner's license, you go along to the AA or VTNZ, you do a practical test with them, and if you pass that one, you go on to your restricted. So that's a minimum 6 months on your learners to get through to your restricted. You then spend 18 months on your restricted license, you go back to the AA or VTNZ, you do a practical test with them, and if you pass that one, you go on to your full. So with that 6 months and 18 months, that's a minimum 2-year process from here to here. Now in 2014, a process started called Cbta, Competency-Based Training and Assessment. It starts out the same as I've mentioned, but once you've got your learner's license and got yourself a bike, you come along and you do some training, which is heavily subsidised by ACC. That training will cover all of the fundamental skills that you need for operating a bike safely out in the street. So it covers things like positioning, speed management, observation, awareness, anticipation, communication, all the good stuff that when you're riding motorbikes, you really ought to be covering that stuff off as part of your day-to-day riding anyway. So all of that stuff gets introduced on a Ride Forever course. Now if you then apply all of the stuff that's covered on that course to a test, a Cbta assessment, Cbta 6R assessment, so it's 6 restricted. If you apply all that stuff that's covered in that course during that test, you'll pass that, and as soon as you pass that, you can go on to your restricted license. So there is no 6-month requirement with the Cbta assessment. As soon as you pass that Cbta assessment, you'll be on your restricted license. Now hypothetically, that could be done within the first 2 or 3 weeks after you have done your basic handling skills test. But it's not just a case of turn up, do the test, progress onto your license. You've got to embed the skills that are covered in those courses into your riding in order to get through these tests. Okay, so that gets you onto your restricted license. You then ride your bike for 9 or 10 months. You come back and do another course, which is again heavily subsidised by ACC. That reinforces all of the good stuff that you did back on this at this stage of your license, reinforces that stuff and extends you just a little bit more open road riding in that course. Subsequent to that course, if you get yourself assessed again in a Cbta assessment, now that's conducted by a motorcycle instructor, so yep, we can help you with that. If you pass that assessment, you only have to spend 12 months on your restricted license, not the 18 months under the old system. So you can go from no license at all through to having a full license in a little over a year with the Cbta system. Now we like the CBTA system because it produces better riders than just people who spend time just riding their bikes. Right? Now these courses and these assessments were designed together. So that's Ride Forever and Cbta Assessments were designed together. And that's going to be the subject of the next video that we have a look at. I'll explain to you how the Ride Forever syllabus and how the Cbta assessments were all formulated together, which will help you to understand why it is that you've covered these things and how you should apply them to your riding in order to be successful through the assessment system. So you've got two processes to follow. You've got the old process and the new process. We can help you with all stages of this apart from the theory test. That's something that you have to do at the AA or VTNZ. If you want assistance with the basic handling skills test, Cbta assessment to go from your learners to your restricted, or the Cbta assessment to go from your restricted to your full, or the Ride Forever courses to prepare you for those assessments, get in touch with Dan or Holly. Hop on to motorcycletraining.co.nz. That's the sort of place that you can go and find all of those services that we can provide you with, which will help you progress through your licence. And frankly, you'll end up enjoying your riding more for having attended these things. Alright, well that's this week's. So next time around we'll have a look at Ride Forever and Cbta, how they fit together. So stay tuned. Any questions that you've got about this, you can call them through to Dan or Holly through the contact on the Facebook page, or pop onto motorcycletraining.co.nz, pop any questions through the contact system on the website, or pop questions down below on the Facebook page where this video is linked to, and we'll come back to you with as much information as we possibly can to help you with your journey. Okay folks, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in a few days.